We're here, the top 10 best movies of 2017. Finally, I can have a list of movies that I actually enjoy talking about. What a fucking concept. We're here, people. Let's talk about the best movies, the movies that I thought were the biggest achievements of 2017. Now, don't get me wrong, these are not like the biggest technological marvels. These are all going to be best picture contenders. These are the movies that I fucking love the most. These are my favorite movies. Some of them you might not agree with. Make your own list. Put your list down in the comment section below. These are my top 10 favorite best movies of 2017. And I will say this, I've done a ton of ranking videos. I've done a ton of top 5s, top 10s. This is the hardest list that I have ever had to commit to since I've been on YouTube. There were so many damn good movies in 2017. Try to condense that list to 10 picks was very difficult. I almost did a top 15. I almost did it, but I managed to get it down to 10. I'm confident about these 10, but I do have a shitload of honorable mentions because I could not sleep at night if I did a video on the best movies of 2017 and did not at least mention these movies. I'm not going to go into big detail on them, otherwise it'll be a 90-minute video, but I will mention these movies, give some quick thoughts on them, and then we'll get on to the meat of this video, the top 10. So, honorable mentions, Annabelle Creation. Big surprise for me. Thought it was a great prequel. Thought it was just another great movie by the director. Thought that it had some genuinely good scares. Was a big surprise by that one. Never Hike Alone. Now this is a fan film that is free to watch on YouTube. If you're a Friday the 13th fan, please check this out. Give these guys some support over at Womp Stomp Films. Very awesome Friday the 13th fan film. It's like just barely under an hour long. They do everything right that a Friday the 13th movie needs to do right, and it's a big middle finger to the studios that have been fumbling with this property for years, can't figure out what to do with it. Do that shit with it because it was awesome. The Devil's Candy, one of the coolest metal horror movies that has ever been released. A serious and straightforward metal horror movie. One of my favorite horror movies of the year. Very awesome soundtrack, very unnerving movie, and it gets even better upon second watch because I saw so much underneath the surface in the second watch that I totally missed in the first watch. Check that one out. The Disaster Artist. Ha 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 ha. This movie was great. The Disaster Artist was awesome. Now this is a movie that is based off the movie The Room, which I had never seen before, previous to about a week and a half ago, the day before I saw The Disaster Artist in theaters. The Room is every bit as bad as everybody said it was, and The Disaster Artist is every bit as good as everybody said it was. This is James Franco making his stake that he is awesome. I love James Franco. I've always championed that guy. He's a director, writer, and main star in this movie, and he totally deserves whatever recognition the Academy gives him. If they snub him, fuck you, Academy, because The Disaster Artist is funny, heartfelt, and damn well done. Split. 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 You know what I'm talking about with Split. Everybody has loved Split. This was a big surprise. This was M. Night Shyamalan coming back onto the scene with a great movie. The first great movie that he's done since Signs. I liked it when I saw it in theaters. I loved it when I saw it at home. James McAvoy, it's a crime that this guy is not going to get nominated. We all know he's not going to get nominated, but he deserves to be because he is awesome in this. Showing 23 different personalities. There's 3 or 4 different personalities that he will switch throughout in the same scene, and he does it seamlessly, flawlessly. Very cool movie. Awesome ending, awesome twist. Cannot wait to see what Shyamalan does in his next movie. Shot Caller. Now this was a movie that came out of nowhere. This is one of those out of nowhere movies, like one of the movies that's going to be on my top 10 list. And it's a very cool prison movie, a very gritty movie. Probably would have worked better as a small mini-series, but what they're able to pack into this movie is very grimy, gritty, effective. Very good performance by the main actor. I forget his name, but he plays the Kingslayer on Game of Thrones. You got Jon Bernthal. You got some other actors you're going to recognize. Very, very cool movie. Very surprised by that one. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. Now, before you click off this video and unsubscribe to me, I recognize fully that I am one of maybe 5 people on earth that did not hate this movie. It surprised the hell out of me how much people hated this movie. I got to see an early screening of it weeks before it hit theaters. I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought it had a lot of imagination, a lot of style. I thought that Charlie Hunnam was great in the role. I thought that Guy Ritchie's style actually played really well into it. A little bit too much CGI, not the best movie of the year, but I felt like it needed to be mentioned because I thought it was way, way better than a lot of people gave it credit for. Here's one that nobody is talking about, Colossal. This is a black comedy starring Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis. Basically tells the story of Anne Hathaway. She walks through this park in her town, and whenever she does, she summons a kaiju in Tokyo, and she has full control over it. It sounds ridiculous, but it tells a really cool story. It's got a lot of imagination, and Jason Sudeikis takes a very, very dark turn in this movie. This is the best thing that he's done as far as his acting stretching. I was really surprised watching him in this movie. Really floated under the radar for everybody, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. Got to show some love to Colossal. Another movie, Detroit. Did not get a chance to do a full review for this movie. This is a movie that I'll probably never watch again because it's so disturbing and it's so hard to watch, and it should be. This is Kathryn Bigelow telling a very underknown story about racial injustice in Detroit, where these colored men, colored women are put into this hotel and these white cops are basically brutalizing them for 90 minutes. And it's so hard to watch because it's so gritty and so realistic. And you want to talk about great performances, I'll be shocked if the Academy does not give some kind of recognition to Will Poulter, who's the guy, you know him from movies like We're the Millers. He was supposed to play Pennywise, would have been a really cool thing to see his version of Pennywise. He is scary in this. So Detroit, don't plan on being a movie that you're going to be watching every single year with the kids, but it's a movie that is definitely worth your attention. Did like that one, even though I'll never watch it again. Big props to Detroit. Wind River. Now this is a movie I did review. I had a lot of praise for it. Really only one scene that I felt was really overcooked kind of brought this movie down. It probably would have been in my top 10, but this is a really quiet, effective murder mystery. This is written by Taylor Sheridan and directed by him. This is the guy that wrote Sicario, and he also wrote Hell or High Water. Last year was one of my favorite movies. And this is his third punch, where he's just getting a lot of acclaim. This is a writer and a director now to keep your eyes on. Jeremy Renner gives the performance of his career in this. A really effective, quiet movie. Definitely worth your attention if you like murder mysteries. And the last one that I got to show some love to, I kind of forgot about, and that's the Lego Batman movie. The only animated movie on this list, because I don't go see very many of them, the Lego Batman movie was a blast. Not only for just an animated movie, because I love the Lego movie, but as a Batman fan, this is a movie that really understands Batman, and it pokes fun at every single thing that you can poke fun about Batman, and has fun with all of it. It's got one of the most unique representations of the Joker. A lot of fun. Gotta love Lego Batman movie. Now, let's get into the crown jewels, the top 10 best movies of 2017. Starting with number 10, a movie that my excitement and my hype walking out of it probably made my numeric score be a little bit exaggerated. I probably would tailor it back just a little bit now, but it's still loved it enough to make my top 10, and that is Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is the DC movie that we needed, and God help us, Justice League totally shit all over it. But Wonder Woman was awesome. Wonder Woman is one of the best origin stories. It's the highest grossing origin story now. I thought Gal Gadot was phenomenal as Wonder Woman. She was the gigantic question mark walking into this, and I fell in love with her in this movie. I said it like 8 times in my review. Still true today. She was awesome. The story was awesome. Her chemistry with Chris Pine. Chris Pine was awesome. I actually liked the villain. A lot of people shit on the villain, Ares. I actually thought that the little switcheroo they pulled towards the end, not to spoil it too much, was actually kind of creative. The switcheroo guy that they kind of had the red herring, Danny Houston, I don't really care for him as the villain. He's the main flaw of the movie for me because he always just really cakes cheese all over every villainous performance he's ever done. But I thought that this was a really important movie for comic book fans and DC fans. I think that it really portrayed the era and the symbol of hope that Wonder Woman is, that Superman should have been. I thought this was just an achievement for a movie. So Wonder Woman was a blast, a really good movie. Check that one out if you haven't. I'm sure all of you have, but that's my number 10. Number 9 is a movie that I'm actually kind of shocked is only at number 9, being how much I love this trilogy, but that just shows you how awesome the movies were in 2018. War for the Planet of the Apes. Talk about a great concluding chapter. Very few trilogies can stick the landing, and this trilogy stick the landing like a pro with War for the Planet of the Apes. It was a little bit misleading with the marketing, but this is a movie that is a very personal story. It's about the effects of war. It's about how, you know, the personal side of war. It's not about big, epic CGI battles or anything like that. Speaking of CGI, I mean, you just want to talk about the most flawless computer-generated characters that you're ever going to see in your life in Caesar and all of his compadres in his little ape clan. The really good villain in Woody Harrelson, and something that this trilogy has done great too is basically every single villain in this trilogy, especially the second and third movie, you can totally understand where the villain is coming from. They're one of those villains that really doesn't feel like they're a villain. It just feels like they're just somebody on the opposite end of an ideology, and that's some of the best villains you're ever going to find. This is a great concluding chapter to this trilogy, and honestly, it's just an achievement for what Andy Serkis is able to bring to the character of Caesar. Caesar is one of the greatest characters to don the screen in over 20 years. I mean, if I did like a top 10 list of characters of film history, Caesar would be on that list. That's how important it is. War for the Planet of the Apes kicks ass. That's my number 9. Number 8 was probably my most anticipated movie from 2017 once I saw the first trailer, and that's Stephen King's It. Now, this was the movie that I had been calling for years. Anytime somebody asked me the question, what's a movie that should be remade? What's a movie that we need a remake for? I would always say It. Because as much as I love the 1990s miniseries for nostalgic reasons and because Tim Curry's Pennywise scared the shit out of me, it's not that great of a movie. Stephen King's It basically improves upon everything about that miniseries, with the exception of Pennywise. I think that Bill Skarsgård does amazing things with it. I still am a little bit partial to the Tim Curry Pennywise. I said that in my review. I still hold true to it, even after rewatching the movie, but Bill Skarsgård is awesome as Pennywise. But the main stars of this movie is actually the kids, the Losers Club. There is such a great coming-of-age story watching these kids and kind of their tight-knit camaraderie while this evil is lurking around this town that it's just a great movie. It's a great horror movie, and it's a great coming-of-age movie. You got some Goonies feel in there. You got a little bit of Stranger Things, which actually took a lot of influence from It, so it makes sense that It takes influence from Stranger Things now in 2017. Just a great horror movie, and a monumental achievement financially for a horror movie, because this movie just blew minds with how much money it was able to make, and it deserved it. It is number 8. Number 7 is going to be 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, this is a movie that came out towards the awards season of the year, came out very quietly, heard a little bit of buzz, walked into it basically blind, didn't know anything about the movie other than the fact that there was going to be 3 billboards and the cast that was in it, and this is one of the best movies of the year. Easily. I said it was probably my number 3 favorite whenever I walked out of it, but I started looking back at some of these other movies, and they're definitely movies that I'll rewatch before 3 Billboards, so I had to knock it down a little bit, but take nothing from that. 3 Billboards is awesome. This movie is definitely going to be nominated and hopefully win for Best Screenplay, because it tells one of the best stories that I've seen all year, in the past couple of years, really. It tells a story. You got Frances McDormand, who's definitely going to be getting a Best Actress nod, and basically her injustice that she has felt for the lack of solving the crime of her daughter's murder causes her to have these 3 billboards put up with these questions for the police force in her town, and it gets media coverage, it gets everybody talking, it gets the town folks for her and against her. You got Woody Harrelson playing a great role once again. I mean, this dude is just having one hell of a third wind in his career. You got Sam Rockwell, the awesome, the badass Sam Rockwell, the totally underrated Sam Rockwell, and hopefully a role that's going to get him some awards consideration, because they do a great story arc with his character that not many movies are able to do. I'm not going to give anything away as far as what they do, but very few movies can do with his character what they're able to accomplish in 3 Billboards. So 3 Billboards is awesome. That is my number 7. Number 6 is going to be John Wick Chapter 2. Talk about a perfect action sequel. I actually prefer this one to the first John Wick that I loved. This does everything that I wanted this movie to do. Not only is the action better than the first one, if you can even comprehend that, because of how awesome and flawless the action was in John Wick, but they make John Wick a more interesting character. They expand the lore of this world, which is a movie that really shouldn't have anything as deep as lore, but it does. The whole thing with the Continental and this interworking kind of guild of assassins and mercenaries that are in this little Continental hotel, and how the rules work and everything. Everything that they did in this movie was perfect to me. I thought that the action took a notch up. I thought the characters took a notch up. There's so many genuinely funny moments and genuinely cool moments in this movie. I was on the edge of my seat from start to finish, and it leaves in a perfect spot leading into a John Wick Chapter 3 that I know we're gonna get, and I hope is just as good, if not better than this one. Talk about a trilogy. How rare would that be? That the first one is awesome, the second one is better, and the third one is the best. That never happens, but it might happen because John Wick Chapter 2 was the shit. That's my number 6. Number 5 is a movie that came out of absolutely nowhere, and that is The Babysitter. This movie was the shit. This is the most entertained and the most genuine fun that I've had all year with a movie. It just totally surprised me how enjoyable this was. A movie from McG going straight to Netflix, talking about a babysitter. I mean, it just felt like a movie that I had seen 1,000 times. You put it on, and it has so much fun and so much creativity and imagination with the zaniness and the over-the-top gore and the ridiculousness of it that it is an absolute blast. Samara Weaving, in this movie and a little movie called Mayhem, which I really enjoyed, she has cemented herself into a girl to watch as far as horror goes. She is awesome. I thought the little kid was awesome. I love kind of the Home Alone spin where he has to defend his house from this cult. Like, I'm not going to give too many story details away because there's a lot of cool little reveals throughout this movie, but I had an absolute blast with The Babysitter. It was my #1 horror movie of 2017, and it's my #5 movie of 2017. #4 is another movie that came out of absolutely nowhere. Every year we get at least 2 of these movies that old school, like 90s action fans get, that float under the radar. They're awesome and they make my top 10 list. This year it's Brawl and Cell Block 99. What a turn for Vince Vaughn. Now this is the director that did Bone Tomahawk. If you've seen Bone Tomahawk, you know what to expect here as far as the tone and the execution. Just a very gritty, grounded, gory as hell movie that just grabs you by the throat and takes you on this wild ride. This is a movie that kind of takes its time. It unfolds at its own pace to the point where it's kind of almost frustrating upon first watch, but when you know what to expect it, especially on a second watch, which is what I did before I made this list, it just shoots up as like one of your favorite movies of the year because it's so unique and it's so different that it's awesome. This is a movie that the real main plot of it doesn't even get going until like an hour and 15 minutes into the movie, but everything that it shows you, everything in the hour and 15 minutes preceding that, and everything crazy that goes on after the plot gets going is just pure awesome. Vince Vaughn is at his craziest in this movie. This is a movie that hopefully gives like a turn in his career because his, you know, lovable schlub shtick that he's had in comedy was great for a while. Now it's kind of burnt out. If he can do more movies like this, which it seems like he's going to because he's going to be in this director's next movie. He did Hacksaw Ridge last year. Vince Vaughn is going to be a guy to keep your eye on as far as just surprises that come out of nowhere. Now, I'm not going to give any details as far as the story. All I will tell you is that if you're a fan of gritty, grounded movies and you think that Vince Vaughn has a dark side that you have not seen yet, you're correct, and it's in Brawl and Cell Block 99. Check it out. #3 is by far, by a fucking landslide, the best comedy of 2017. Comedies suck nowadays. I will go ahead and say it. That is the genre that I honestly just hate the most now. I love comedies, but comedies just suck nowadays. Well, you know what doesn't suck? The Big Sick. The Big Sick is one of the greatest romantic comedies that I've seen in years because it is so heartfelt and so unique in its approach. It tells actually the true story, which is the story of the main actor Kumail, him and his own wife, their story about how they met in The Big Sick, where he meets this girl, she befalls this illness while they're kind of in this little funk in their relationship. And while he's kind of with her while she's in a coma, trying to make sure she stays okay and trying to show his love and support for her, he has to kind of interact with her parents, played by Holly Hunter, in a role that hopefully she gets some awards recognition for, and Ray Romano in a role that actually makes me like Ray Romano. I've never been a fan of his. But he has to interact with them while the romantic interest is basically asleep the whole movie, and they know that there's this funk going on with their relationship before she fell into this coma. So there's a lot of really complicated human interaction going on in this movie, but it's done so flawlessly and it's so personal, probably because the script came from the people that actually went through this tragedy, that it is just so great to watch. It's genuinely hilarious in spots. It's really heartfelt in spots. It gives you really, really human moments, which are so important in comedies if they want to feel real. Like, you can have your ridiculous 21 Jump Streets and everything, but when you get a movie like The Big Sick, it's just special. So if you're like me, you fucking hate the comedies and the bullshit that just keep coming out year after year that is not funny, and you want a diamond in the rough, this is a shining diamond. Please check out The Big Sick because it is great. That is my #3. #2 is the only movie in years that I have willingly and excitedly went to the theaters twice to see because I loved it so much. I have not done that with any movie in years, and that is Baby Driver. Now, first and foremost, I am not an Edgar Wright fan. I don't hate his movies, but Shaun of the Dead, the one that everybody loves, I've never gotten into it. Hot Fuzz, I like that one okay. Some of his other ones, I'm just, they're okay. His style just doesn't really gel with me. Baby Driver gelled with me a lot. Like, everything that he did in this movie, from the style of it, to the quirkiness, to the speed, to the pace, to the characters, the acting, everything about Baby Driver just flew for me. This movie was awesome. I thought that all of the characters, Ansel Elgort as Baby, I thought that even Kevin Spacey, hopefully I won't get demonetized for saying his fucking name, but Kevin Spacey was great in his role. I thought Jon Hamm did some of the best that he's ever done in his career. Even Jamie Foxx, who I personally do not like at all as a person, I've said that numerous times, he was great in this. So many characters that are just awesome to watch. The music, which I'm not a fan of that style of music, really fits this movie, and it's almost like a reinvented musical, the way that music works with the story of this movie. So much style, so much perfect execution that This makes me an Edgar Wright fan, and next time it says a film by Edgar Wright, I will be there just because I love Baby Driver so much. That is number 2. Number 1, the best movie of 2017, remained my favorite movie of 2017 throughout the majority of this year. I did not see any movie dethroning this, otherwise it was going to be some monumental achievement in film, and by the end of the year, nothing dethroned Logan. 2 years in a row, people, I have picked a Fox X-Men movie as my favorite movie of the year. Last year was Deadpool, this year was Logan, maybe next year will be Deadpool 2 or even the New Mutants, who knows. Fox is killing it with their X-Men movies. Logan, I was gun shy about putting it as my number 1 favorite comic book movie of all time when I did my top 5 comic book films with Durbin earlier this year. I put it as number 2, but Logan is just an achievement for comic book movies. It almost seems like a disservice to even categorize it as a comic book film because so much in this movie is just so deep and so rich and dark that it's just another animal, like Wolverine himself. This is like the perfect concluding chapter to a character and a portrayal by an actor that we have been watching for 17 years. And I can't think of a more effective and just emotionally gripping way to say goodbye to that character. Everything that they did in Logan was flawless. Hugh Jackman is probably the best he's ever been as Wolverine in a career where he has been awesome as Wolverine time and time again, regardless of the quality of the movie. You get Patrick Stewart, a darling of Hollywood, a guy that has been acting his ass off for years and in numerous roles that people love him for, giving the best performance of his career as Patrick Stewart in this. You got Daphne Keane, a little girl, the child actor that usually is the big wild card on whether or not your movie is going to be good or bad, is awesome in this as X-23. The action is great. The rated R, the bloody, the intensity, it doesn't feel like it's tacked on. It feels like it's earned. It feels like it adds to the story. It adds to the darkness. It adds to the sadness. The way that everything wraps up as far as the character of Wolverine and how he kind of comes to peace with himself and comes to peace with his own mortality. Everything about Logan, I could go on for hours about how perfect this movie is. It is my favorite movie of 2017. It's one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. Cannot say anything more about Logan. It is awesome. Logan, number one, baby, best movie of 2017. Well, that's it, guys. That is my list, my best movies of 2017. Please put your list, because I know everybody's gonna have a wildly different taste on movies from this year. Put it down in the comment section below, guys, and we'll talk about it. Go back and check out my worst of the year, my most disappointing of the year, and keep your eyes peeled for my most anticipated movies of this year, 2018, coming out very soon. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you want to check out my social media links, check those out down in the video description below. We got Facebook, we got Instagram, we got Twitter, all hanging out down there, along with my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel, help it grow, and get exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. And if you want to check out some more of my videos, you can check out a few more by clicking right over here.